Hello and welcome to the Monday, January 13th, 2025 edition of the SANS Internet Storm Center's Stormcast. My name is Johannes Ulrich and today I'm recording from Jacksonville, Florida. Well, let's start with some Internet Storm Center diaries. We got a great one from Tom here. Actually, follow up to a story that broke over the holidays and I covered last week about Chrome extensions, in particular the Cyberhaven extension compromise that caused quite a bit of concerns. Tom is writing about how to detect what extensions are installed via the Defender console. So you have to go to Vulnerability Management, Inventories, Browser Extension, and that's where you have the data that you need to identify what extensions are installed. You get the Chrome extension ID, so you can search, for example, for malicious extension IDs. This is, of course, critical given all the problems that malicious Chrome extensions have caused and the difficulty in sometimes restricting Chrome extensions as users legitimately like to install them. And Windows Defender, of course, is a tool that you typically already have available. And we have a second diary, this one from Didier, and well, if it's Didier, it has to include some cool features in Office documents and some Python scripts to analyze them. In this case, it's OLE documents being embedded in OOXML documents. Office OpenXML, that's the current standard that you find in Windows Office documents. Well, OLE is the older standard, but with OOXML being so flexible, it's actually able to embed OLE documents and with that make it more difficult to detect malicious content, in particular macros. Now, Didier, of course, here comes to your aid and helps you with some of his tools like zipdump.py and OLEdump.py to assist you in analyzing these documents and identify anything malicious like macros. And we have updates about last week's vulnerability in Ivanti's Connect Secure product from Watchtower. And of course, whenever Watchtower is involved, we usually get sort of a deep dive into how exploitation works against these vulnerabilities. Again, these were already being exploited by the time the vulnerability became known and a patch was made available. Right now, only patches are available for Connect Secure, but other affected applications like Ivanti's Policy Secure and Neurons and the CTA gateways, well, that will only receive a patch on January 21st, so bookmark that in your calendar. Either way, Watchtower gives you the details on how to exploit this particular vulnerability and what the nature of the vulnerability is, so in particular for red teamers, probably something to pay attention to. And I think I had one talk last week from the Chaos Communication Congress. There's another one I want to point out. And again, this is a conference I highly suggest that you watch some of the talks on YouTube. They're all available. It's usually a highly technical sort of deep dives, and one I thought was kind of interesting and worthwhile mention was a compromise of Apple's USB-C controller. With the iPhone 15, Apple started introducing USB-C and implemented it with their Ace 3 controller. The attack here is far from trivial. It requires electromagnetic fault injection, where essentially you trigger issues in the chipset by modifying voltages and the like, but in the end the attacker was able to execute arbitrary code. This could then lead to a firmware compromise on the device that of course would not be detectable as far as I know using software. Also not sure if there is a patch available to it, but maybe Apple can upgrade some of the firmware involved with USB 3 here in order to make things more difficult to exploit. And here in the US, well, a tax filing season is starting. You have until April 15th typically in order to file your income tax return. And that typically also leads to a number of scams. One of the most common scams here is where an attacker who has access to some of data of yours that were stolen in other compromises like social security numbers to then file taxes on your behalf and receive, of course, a refund that you may or may not be owed by the IRS. In order to prevent these fraudulent filings, the IRS has moved somewhat away from using the social security number as sort of its identifier/password. They also are now using the amount of your income from last year. But of course, that may also be publicly available due to data breaches or just lucky guesses. So what they introduced in the last few years is a PIN number that they will mail you once a year. I actually just received mine last week. You can ask for that from the IRS, and then going forward, you will be mailed this PIN once a year. The one caveat here is that, first of all, you have to have a consistent mailing address. If you move a lot, this may be a little bit difficult to implement. In the past, they only gave you a PIN if you were subject to a compromise of your data. But given that pretty much anybody's social security number has been leaked by now, they pretty much got rid of that requirement, and anybody may now ask for this PIN number. So why not go ahead and see if you can get one. I'll link to the respective IRS publication. Well, and that's it for today. So thanks for listening, and talk to you again tomorrow.